Coach, the games are coming fast and furious here. I think
Oh,
it's
boy.
like 4 games in 10 days here starting on Sunday. Obviously all big important games too.
Yeah, 4 games in 10 days, and Mike Burns wants to go spend 3 hours making them guard at practice, like, because we gave up too many threes. But no doubt, it's an exciting time, and you embrace it, and that's what you know. Guys would rather play games than practice, and that's the kind of guys I got. And these are all going to be great games and great opponents, and so chunking that out. We got a huge one Sunday, and we need a sellout. We got 120 minutes left in this gym with these guys, and they've been entertaining, fun to coach, fun to watch, competitive. It's a great group, so let's sell this place out.
Not just games, but meaning. Lucas was saying it's fun to play in games that mean something or matter. I mean,
Oh, no doubt.
some teams are just kind of playing out the strings at this point in the season. To
Yeah.
play games that actually matter down the stretch here.
No doubt. I mean, you turn on the TV and look all over the country, and you can just see it. You're like, well, that team's just trying to hang on and then regroup for a conference tournament. You can see it a lot, and we're in the fight, and that's where you want to be. And I'm glad Lucas understands that, and our guys understand that, because it's the right way to look at it. It's just, you said something the other day about, added pressure to these games. Well, beats the alternative a heck of a lot.
When Lucas impacts the game like he did the other day, what clicks for him?
Mentally, it's all mental, like we always say, but because he's, you've heard me say it in a lot of different ways. When his mentality and confidence and experience catches up with his talent, you got something, and you saw glimpses of that, and I was really proud of him, because he wants to help this team, and he's unselfish, and he wants to do well. And sometimes there lies the problem. They want it so bad that you just become overzealous, and like maybe what a Boozos kind of situation where it goes and fouls out in 9 minutes. I think there's some of that in Lucas, and so he's been doing some great mental work about it, and I think he's making huge progress.
If he'd have played as you guys had planned early in the season, because you started him for those first couple of games, or like you did the other night, how does that impact Tyson's season and what his role in this team is?
I can never look back just because of the insanity to that. You don't get to do that. It happens for a reason, and the reason's good right now, because big key to the whole thing. I said it from day one to now, and I've been consistent with that. Big part of our season is going to rely on that bench, and if that bench didn't step up, I thought Jace did great things. I mean, in that game, and the guys that we all put in really contributed to a 1-possession game. And if they don't make, if Lucas had a key block, and then that putback with 1:30 to go that put us up 4 instead of 2, huge. So that was my statement from way back then, rings true on that day, that if the bench doesn't contribute the way I know it can, we don't win that game. No ifs, ands, or buts.
When you say he's been working on some mental things, I mean, take us behind the scenes. How has the sausage age? What does that mean?
Well, you got to find something you got to find a way to reach, and each kid's different. The buttons that you push with Max might be a lot different, so knowing their background, Lucas's background is so unique. It comes from 2 deaf parents. So think about that. His world has always been quieter. His world is visual, not verbal. And so there's a whole, you got to understand how he learns, how he's motivated, how all those things, and what the issues really are, and then try to provide the best way through those. And it takes sometimes a lot of trial and error, sometimes a lot of, just keep turning it over and keep trying, and extreme patience. I believe we can improve anyone if we want to bad enough, and they want to bad enough, and we're patient enough and caring enough. We can help anybody. And it's easy to get frustrated because how good you see some things at practice, you're like, oh my gosh, there's practice I've walked out and going, there's no limit to how good he could be, And so you don't want that to creep in because that interferes with the task and the job, and you don't do it as good. That never helps just because you whine about it or cry about it or yell about it. That doesn't help the problem. There might be times to yell about it, if it's an effort thing or, but so that's where it starts. And then, we provide books and counseling, and sometimes you want to read some stuff with the guy and then kind of go over it, see how he's interpreting it. And one of the interesting things I've done with this one was I some of the best competitive minds are golfers because they have the longest amount of time between shots. And I got a guy on my staff, Michael Johnson, who was a college golfer. And so he and Lucas have been sharing a lot. He's been sharing a lot of time and ideas with Lucas on that. And the three of us are actually reading a book together. And, of course I listen to it and those guys read it. But
What book is that?
it's called How Champions Think. And I think it's a great resource. And like I said, I like the crossover stuff all the time. And I got turned on to this author who's a golf coach, Bob Ritello, and I asked our baseball coaches at Gonzaga one time, like, how do you help a kid that's in a slump, or that kind of thing? And he gave me one of those books. I think it was called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect, and it was great, and it really helped that freeing the mind and not, because guys start overthinking when they're in slumps and when they're. Jay could probably speak on this, although he never had a slump.
Yeah, right.
So, that's just, like you said, how the sausage is made. That's what we're trying. That's how we turn it over because, I'm a believer, like 4, 5, 6 to 1 mental to physical, especially this time of year. The stuff you can get done mentally is huge without wearing them out physically. Because, like you just said, 4 games in 10 days. Yeah, there's a lot of things we'd like to go out and practice our tails off, but that could be a really counterproductive thing. It might make you feel better as a coach, like, oh, we got that fixed. And then come 10 days from now, there's nobody left and everyone's tired and worn out and hurt.
Have you ever had a player frequent half-price books like Lucas?
What does that mean?
He goes to half-price books a lot.
He does. How do you know that?
He just told us.
Oh, he mentioned it too? What did he say? Yeah, I didn't.
He said he likes to read. He goes, maybe not lately, but he goes to half-price books a lot.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not much of a shopper in any sense of the word, so I don't even know what you're saying.
Have you had a player that enjoys reading as much as Lucas has? Or does?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that really, it surprised you how much these guys like to read. And then, I'm always cautious because I don't want to pour more assignments on these guys, when they have a tendency to have a lot of reading in school. So I don't want to dump a lot more reading on them. So that's where I think Audible has helped in some sense because like, hey, just listen to this while you lift or when we're on a plane or, so you're not assigning them, but it's got to be something they're really into. But you'd be surprised how much guys like that stuff. They want to know how the great ones think and they want to know the habits of all that stuff. And that's so important. And, I think that's a change in the modern athlete. They eat that stuff up, and there's so much stuff available to guys nowadays that you got to take advantage of it.
Seems like such a long time ago we played UNLV down there, but it was a really good night for the offense. So what were you guys able to do? I think you had a season high threes that night at UNLV. One of the highest.
Yeah, I think we did a good job of understanding our purpose and our mission and how we were going to get shots, and then we got each other shots. We had a lot of assists that night and shared the ball really well, moved the ball well, and because they're a team that can turn you over a ton if you play the wrong way against them, and so I think that was probably the biggest key. And when you look at our threes over the year and how when you say that, like, well, you made a lot of shots tonight, it usually or always goes back to, well, we got each other a lot of shots, and when we do that, we make them.
Marcus is approaching a 1,000-point milestone. So what does it mean to be a 1,000-point scorer?
Yeah, I mean, that's always just when you see that, there's a reason. If you get to that and all the stuff that goes into having to get to that, you've accomplished some things because of everything you've had to overcome and all the, in Marcus' cases, the injuries, the transfer, the different, positions, the adjusting to, last year he was a scoring 2 guard 90% of the time. This year he's a lead the team point guard, 95% of the time. I mean, so all the adjustments, all the things he went through to in the end be able to stack something like that up, and he could get 2,000. I was told that by Bob that, I mean, that's remarkable. So impressive, and but I'm always impressed by his abilities and the way he can get that ball in the basket. That one shot he had, the reverse kind of layup through bodies, he does some things that make you go wow sometimes.
But it looked like he was cramping up. Is he all right?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
It was just cramps and devastating ones, but yeah, it was hard not to have him in there. But I thought our guys did a great job. Jace did an awesome job, especially in the second half, of things he needed to do.
You said after the game you wanted to go watch the tape, but
Yeah.
That last play and trying to keep it away from Stevens.
Huge, and Jace did his job, just enough that they couldn't throw it to him, because I wouldn't wanted to have seen him shoot that last shot. And nothing against the other guys, but there's, he and Shave are two of the clutchest guys in the country, no doubt about it.
When it comes to Marcus, I mean, he's played well all season, I get that, but like you go back and think of the end of Derek Marks' kind of tenure here, or last year with the Boo, it's like this last month, like they kind of can go to like this different level and be really special. Does Marcus have that in him, and
Yes.
how much is he ready to embrace the last month of his college?
That's a we will see statement, but I'm with you on it. And there's a superstitious side of me that I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse, but I like how you're thinking, and I would agree. So
How about
that's special to see with seniors, and you usually do see that with the guys that have fought through a lot of stuff and been there. And basketball means a lot to them. They're that's usually you see their best, and that's as a coach, that's what you want. I want them to be able to play their best going down the stretch of their senior year, and because that means they continue to improve their whole career, and that's what we're about.
Maybe a better question, what is it about Marcus's makeup that you think will allow him to thrive over the next month?
Well, big shot, Shave. That's the mentality that the guy has that nickname. Usually is the guy that does that.
Where do you think he's improved the most from, I don't know, let's say the summer when you decided he was gonna be the point guard?
That thing that jumps out in my mind right there is the pace. He's developed that old man, you're not an old man, but you recruit an 18-year-old that can go really fast, and you try to teach him to play like a 30-year-old. And you're seeing that in his game, and the way he manipulates ball screens, the way he goes from slow to fast. There's still work to be done, and we can still keep getting him better. We're working on some things. We watch, like I said, we watch film of NBA guys that play older, that used to be that fast guy that just went 100 miles an hour. And the great ones learn how to play at different speeds and then under control, and then use their speed and burst and advantage. And that's what the good old veteran guards learn how to do.
The collective yesterday got a big $200,000 donation. Obviously, the world of college athletics, there's NIL talk. How can things like that, impact the program going forward?
It's huge, and it's been so impressed with our administration and understanding this and not being behind, not being knee-jerk where, oh, wow, we missed out, we got to jump on it. These guys have been proactive in this stuff and creative, and that's how we have to be. It's our university's motto, kind of, is that creativity, that innovation. That's how this place was built, and that's what we have to do, and we have to have open minds about it, and we have to find ways to do it that fit what we do, and we've been doing all that. That's gonna be a great separator in college athletics, is the teams and the programs and the universities that figure that stuff out, and the communities that get behind that. Because you want great teams. Well, you don't have great teams without great players.
You're not, obviously, when it comes to recruiting, you're not enticing kids with NIL packages, but kids are smart enough to go and look and see
No doubt.
a kid here, you know, of Tyson maybe getting some stuff. Is that a thing in recruiting? I mean, do kids go and look at what
Yeah,
current
kids,
players get?
you know, there's just, all the information is out there, and, you know, we want to be a school, and we are a place that we want to exceed what they think they're going to get here. I mean, it's going to be a better experience than you thought. You're going to get more than you thought, all those things. And that's been consistent in our basketball program. We've delivered more than what we promised in everything. And like you said, not that we can promise that stuff, because you can't. That'd be an inducement. But we deliver. This place delivers, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of recruiting where a lot of promises are made and things aren't delivered, and I think that sorts itself out because kids understand that and hear that about which programs aren't and which ones are, and we want to be one that hey, we're going to deliver on this stuff, and we're going to be progressive, and we're going to, you know, this is great.
Yesterday, the Madison Board of Education said that you guys can move forward with pursuing plans for, you know, your basketball facility. You've been here a long time, Leon, and we've all seen renderings over the last decade, but what is it like to actually see like things progress, I guess?
It's huge, and that's what you want. You know, we've always kind of had that. We've always kind of had that mentality of if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And the progress we've made, especially in these last few years, and all this other stuff, that makes a huge difference. You've heard me rant on and speak on it all the time, and you got to keep fighting that fight, and keep fighting that fight to get better and capitalize on that stuff, and then it sets the, you know, when you look at long term for programs, it helps you set that up for long term and to sustain it and to keep it growing, and because you know you don't want to work all these years to keep building, and then you walk away and it crumbles, you know. So everything has to keep getting better, and you know that's what I love about the administration here is they're helping us do that and leading the charge in a lot of these things, and it's making a huge difference.
I know we joked about the most part series. The time you walk in and there's 72 light bulbs, and maybe you're gonna get up there and change them or whatever. But how involved are you with like this stuff, like when it comes to, you know, advancing the basketball project?
Yeah.
Or are your
Well,
take care of it for
there's
you?
you know, you always want to be involved, but there's a difference being involved and having to do it. I mean, you know, I think I'm a lot more effective when I can come up with a great idea and someone else goes and does all the dirty work and the legwork that takes so much time that, you know, because every decision like that drags you away from the things that are most important. You got to take care of your players. You got to, you know, with the player development, you got to recruit, you got to do all that stuff. You got to scout, you got to coach, all those things. Any time that you're working on that other stuff, it just draws you away from that stuff. But that stuff has to get done. So you need guys that can go out, boots on the ground, and get all those quote unquote little things done, so the big things get done, and that's what we got around here is now. And you know, because the bad thing about was it forced you into choices. Well, like if I do this, well then I'm not going to be able to go spend some time with this student athlete to help him get better, and those were choices that you had to make. So there is no right answer. You're just trying to figure out which one's the lesser of two evils, and what you know. So maybe that didn't get done over there because, like, hey, this program is built on player development. I got to go spend one-on-one time with this player, and then that doesn't get it. Well, now we got both things getting done, and that's what you have to have a great program.
You've coached, I looked it up, 10 conference players of the year, going back. I think you started with Calvary in 01. So you know what it takes for someone to have that type of year. In your opinion, is Tyson anywhere close on that trajectory?
Oh,
if
yeah.
he finishes strong and win conference player of the
No
year?
doubt. I think the the hard part maybe on our team when you would say that about Tyson, we've had a lot of people lift us up on different nights. You know, his has been really consistent, no doubt about it. And I guess what I'm saying is when you have 5 guys that average double figures, 5 guys that have done different things through different games to help you win those games, that, you know, sometimes it's so clear, like with Derek, you knew, I mean, he was like a little bit head and shoulders above. It was clear why you were winning every night that year. And it was one guy. With this team, I think you see more of a balance of, yeah, Tyson's got his hand on so many things, and you can make a huge case for him. But we've also had a lot of guys that have done some amazing things on different nights to help us get over the hump.
Michael Jordan turned 60 today. His contributions to the game, I don't know if you've ever met MJ, but I mean, the kids still wear his
Yeah.
shoes. He hasn't
Yeah.
played for 20 years. What has he meant to the sport of basketball and all that?
Yeah, I mean, just the killer competitor, and you know, just I love. You should listen to. You want to hear interesting debates. You hear Berto, the old school guy, talk to these young, because Berto's a basketball historian. I mean, he's got every stat and every who's the greatest, who's the all, and to hear him debate this stuff with the young guys is awesome. And sometimes okay, that one's enough. We're done with that, you know, because they just go on and on and on. And but it's cool, and MJ's always at the top of my list because of the competitor that he was, you know.
There's one more. When it comes to like you stretch of games, last 6 games with Colorado State, you play top 5 offenses in the Mountain West. What comes with the challenge of having to, on a points per game level, the top 5 scoring offenses? What comes with the challenge of that task, I guess?
Yeah, and they're UNLV's so explosive. I mean, they got so much talent that they can get it rolling on teams, and I've seen them do that. And so yeah, those teams are always so scary that can just explode offensively, and they certainly have that. I know that.